Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Halo 5 Legendary Lone Wolf walkthrough. This is Mission 1, it is entitled Osiris, and ladies and gentlemen, Halo 5. So this game is amazing in a lot of great ways. It has a couple of gripes I'm going to explain as we progress. This beginning mission, Osiris, is a pretty divisive encounter, I felt, because it throws you into the mix of this encounter happening on this planet, and you're introduced really quickly to the concept of enemies being all around you in these big battle-esque arenas. And I don't remember too much of this in Halo because it generally gave you a path where you could jump in a warthog and just fuck off. Or you could go, you know, to the right and sneak up a side and like go high and climb over things. Or just, you know, get involved in the skirmish or getting a tank. Those are the encounters I'm used to. This game doesn't really have those moments. They've turned the vehicle moments into much more linear vehicle moments. So when I was first playing this on my first run through the game, I was really confused because a lot of the times when there's a lot of people to shoot in Legendary Campaign, sometimes the best choice is to just rush and hit that checkpoint like I did just then. Other times, it's you know, better and smarter to be less bold. On this game, it is almost never smarter to push forward too quickly, because it'll just bite you in the bum. And this level really showed me that. That being said, I'm going to give you some strategies that's hopefully going to come in handy with this, that do exactly what I'm mentioning. And it's this really strange juggling factor of sometimes pushing up is just suicide, other times it's really advisable. But there are a couple of things I want to talk about first before we do anything. This is going to be standard Halo fare. If you've never played a Halo before, my advice to you is to just get stuck in there and learn by doing. I'm assuming you've played a Halo, this being the 5th one, you going on Legendary, and you probably want to know, well, what's in store. So there is achievements and trophies for both beating Legendary and doing it on your own. However, there is no way to turn your team off. You will play the majority of this game with companions who not only will they further the plot and give you these nice little character moments with Nathan Fillion and others, but they will also get in the way. And they will get in the way in the most egregiously annoying, just dumbass ways imaginable. So much so that you're gonna kill me. You're gonna kill me. Awesome. That's the word I wanted. Just leapt out of my mouth. You're going to see me actually kill one of my buddies because she pissed me off. And they did it all the way through the game, but for the most, they were okay. It's just one or two areas where you bottled in. They just stand in front of your bullets, they block things, they clip on you, they push you, all kinds of mad things. So the first thing you need to know is that your team will help very slowly shoot enemies every so often, and they can kill, but for the most, they're going to hinder you at every single occasion. You cannot rely on them, they die too quickly, they don't do enough, and they get in the way. The next thing you need to know is that Legendary this year is the toughest it's been for a while. I don't think it's as tricky as, say, Halo 2 or Halo 1, you know, areas like the library where the flood just got really ridiculous, but there are a couple of sections in this game that are legitimately difficult, and a lot of them are due to the checkpoints. If you've ever played Halo before, you know that this game randomly checkpoints. There are certain areas you can cross where it can give you a checkpoint. In the old games, you used to be able to traverse back to those triggers and get checkpoints again, and there were a lot of wide areas that you could exploit this system to give yourself checkpoints when you did something important. This one doesn't really have those triggers in the same way. It has lots of triggers, but they seem to be just designed by somebody who doesn't quite understand the pacing and the challenge of this game. During the smaller excursions and skirmishes, the checkpoints are usually great, they work well, they're really fun. During some of the bigger, more difficult areas, they don't exist. So they force you to play back a hell of a lot of content, and that's when the frustration builds. For the most, I can only highlight maybe 5 areas where the checkpoints are just not good enough and it makes the game really difficult because of it. And those areas are the areas you're going to get stuck on, because everything else, although challenging, very manageable because you were given the tools needed to succeed. There are a handful of boss fights in this game that are very tricky. For the first few, I have some great spots. For the very final one, It is the biggest bullshit fest, look, nonsensical, just charade of game design I've seen since Mira from Gears of War 3 or Ram from Gears of War 1 when you don't use the spot to get him stuck. It is a boss fight that is 100% dependent by where he goes, what your team does, and the results of those two very things. Everything else is just you are a spectator, hopefully he dies before he one-hit kills you. And it's really crazy. And I'm not looking forward to people getting there, because the strategies that I have are going to get you through, but it's not going to come easily. And I'm hoping that there's a really super easy strat that I didn't find, where you drop a building on him, or you teabag a spot for 10 minutes and he falls off and dies immediately, but I really don't think that exists. So instead you're going to see a lot of this. In this game, every single arena has an assortment of ammo refills because you run out of ammo very quickly. I think the worst part of any High Halo campaign is when you don't have bullets and you have to find them, and you spend way too long looking for bullets. I've never understood it. The one reason I've always preferred Call of Duty over Halo is because I'm always shooting. Always. There are no moments in that game where I'm running to find a new gun, it just doesn't exist. In this, it is literally 60% of every gunfight, and that's why I'm using the suppressor, which is what this is. I think it's called suppression. This is the Protean equivalent of a Needler, only it's a piece of dog shit. It's like the Needler off... Was it 2 where they made the Needler terrible? It's like that. This thing literally buys them a lottery ticket, sees if they've won a week later, and then decides to damage them. It is baffling, and the game is so good at this. It will have 50 resupplies of weapons, and there'll be one of them that has a light rifle or a good gun, and everything else is essentially... It's fancy, it's animation heavy, it looks great, but it does nothing. It is literally a feathered duster attached to some transforming weapon. It's horrible. It might as well be a fridge magnet, because it just doesn't work. And then there are the guns that work. Those are the ones you need to be able to find, those are the ones you need to be able to use. In my opinion, the guns that work. The battle rifle is amazing, but it's far too scarce throughout the campaign, and it runs out real quickly because every single enemy takes 1,000 bullets to die. The DMR's been changed a little bit, and I don't think it's as good as it was, but it's still a solid choice. The pistol is great, and you generally start with it. The carbine is great. The light gun is great. Everything else, kind of finicky. Of course, the sniper rifle's pretty good, but it feels really underpowered in this game. The rocket launcher feels really underpowered in this game. I have no idea what they chose to do to that weapon, but I don't think I've killed a single thing with it, and I shot like 6 rockets earlier today. There are a lot of moments where the guns are not going to have the result that you would like. For instance, can you remember in old Halos where you used to throw grenades at somebody or used to kill somebody and then the grenades just went nuts? There would be a million grenades going off and you didn't know why, and a lot of the times you died. This game doesn't have that. They got rid of the craziness of the grenades, which is either a great thing or a bad thing depending on your perspective. I kind of liked it because it enabled you to kill one dude and kill everybody in certain moments, but for the most, we're definitely going to be earning it. The grenades seem just like they were before, and then we're going to be pushing forward here, and this is the Covenant and the... I think they're called Protheans. They might be called something else. I do apologise, guys. It's been a crazy few days. My mind is just scrambled. But these two armies are fighting each other, but as soon as they get a whiff of you, you are so much more delicious. So they're going to be straight up trying to kill you. And one of the great advantages you're going to have in this game is distance, but you need to know there is a limit to the distance that certain weapons will work from. Do not pay attention to if the reticle goes red. That is just guaranteed hits. There are weapons that will still work outside of that, and I will showcase that throughout this walkthrough. There's a Jackal. There is the new sprinting attack once you get to a full sprint. Very powerful. It will also enable you to unlock some secret areas and some alternative paths. In this game, every level has numerous branching paths to get through it. I think it's a great addition, and I really like what they've done, but I did not find a single one that led to a path that completely broke the game and got me to where I needed to be super effectively. They all just kind of add to it in this almost cocktail effect. And right now, I'm very close to dying, so get that shield back, and then push forward. Over here, be very careful. There is a dropship that shoots at you and it does big damage. You're going to see it hit me. It takes all my shield. It might have already done it. And here is one of the alternative paths. So They only start to stand out, those pathways, once you get used to looking for them. And when I first played this level, I had no idea I could do this, but you can. So whenever you're fighting, if you're in a bad spot, you're pinned down, you don't have any kind of advantage, look around. There just might be a method of getting something cool. And on average, these general soldiers, they take about 4 to 5 headshots. You need to break their armor. There's this fancy effect of them kind of, you know, coming apart like magnets or reverse magnets. And then you can get a critical on them. And it has to be said, whenever you fight the Covenant on this game, I think the skirmishes are really fun, because I think that they've mastered that combat, and the combat in this game feels great, other than when the enemies on Legendary are taking way too many bullets and you don't have any to give them. That's the only time where I think the game completely falls down, but for the most, combat feels really fun, really entertaining. But when you fight these guys, I don't think it's very fun. Whenever you fight the Proteans, I'm not too sure. The glowing yellow Transformer men, I'm going to call them Transformer men. I think it's just best for everybody concerned. Whenever you fight these guys, I just don't think the game is as much fun, because I don't think there is an entertaining an enemy. Noob combo, I don't think it works because you don't get enough plasma pistols to try it against them. All of them are massive damage sponges. The knights have been completely redesigned so that now they're an asshole. They're a massive tank enemy that can be instantly killed, which is amazing, but it's really tricky to do. And then the dogs, I think they're called crawlers. Those little dogs are one of the worst enemies in the game because they're constant. There's generally a massive stream of them, and they're always firing those homing bullets. And on a game where the enemies do this much damage and are this accurate, do we really need to give them homing shots? And on one hand, it's really cool because there's a dodge mechanic now. At any point, if you press B while you're going in a direction, you will boost towards it. And it is so fun. But you know what isn't fun? Waiting 5 seconds for the cooldown to go so you can do it again. And I understand that a lot of these decisions in these games are made around balance. This is a really good path, by the way. It gets you behind some enemies, gets you a binary rifle, which is one of the best guns in the game. Although, get this, if you shoot the binary rifle for the full shot at an elite's head while he's armoured, it'll get rid of his shield and nothing else. If you hit him with a fully charged plasma pistol that's got wicked auto-aim, it'll do the exact same. So a perfect headshot with one of the most powerful guns in the game does the exact same as the plasma pistol. The lowest tier of weapon, only really good against shields because of its EMP function. Which is crazy, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, fighting these guys, it's a bit of a grind, and there are definitely some areas later on in the game when you get to about chapter 12 onwards where it feels like a shooting gallery of nothing but gunfights. And I appreciate this as a first-person shooter, but I think Halo is at its best when there's a nice driving section, then some combat, then another traversal section, maybe a bit of platforming, maybe a bit of exposition, then another piece of combat, and then maybe a big battle. That is where these games shine, and this game is paced in such a way that it really never feels like that. It just doesn't. They've definitely codified it, if that is a word. And I think that might put some people off, but at the same time, if you're a massive Halo fan, I cannot see anything here that you won't enjoy. You might not agree with some things. I disagree with many things. One of the best things to disagree with for me personally is on this game you now have actual iron sights rather than just getting an extra bit of zoom on your reticle. And what this does is completely changes the dynamic of the game. When I looked down the sights of the pistol at the very beginning when I first started playing, it felt weird. And they haven't lost the super accurate hipfire. You can still do that if you're a traditional Halo player. But it's strange. It's really strange. And I had a super tough time adjusting. But the moment it clicked, it was as if it had never been any way different, and I really like it. But the one thing I don't like, and apparently this is the same in all the older Halo games, but now it's visually jarring. When you get shot when you're ADSing, it kicks you out of it. In the old games, when you had your BR and you're going into the scope, or you had the sniper, and it knocked you out of it, it was just Halo. Now, it's annoying. It's really annoying. And it's kind of weird because it's only a visual thing, but it's so jarring to be down the sights, have that trigger held, and then not be looking down your sights. It's the most weird just mind-altering moment of game where you're doing something you've done and you have hundreds of hours of muscle memory, and on the screen it's not being reflected. So for me as a player, I found it really confusing, and it got annoying, and I kind of learned to deal with it. By the way, that was a knight. If you hit the generators under his arms, he'll go into a weakened state where he screams and his mouth is vulnerable. If you shoot his mouth, it is a one-hit kill. It is easily the coolest design of any of these Transformer Men enemies. Really, really nice. And then at this distance, you can pick off a ton of dudes, and you can do it comfortably without being shot at. The only problem, once again, is ammunition, and your team are going to block the door, so I'm going to kill one of them because they annoy me. But I need to talk about the quality of this video. After the compression from when I render it, and then the second compression when it goes on YouTube, I'm not too sure what the quality will be, but there is a definite lower quality of the video quality of this particular video. And that is because I've changed from the Elgato to the HD PVR2, and it turns out that the HD PVR2 can only capture up to 6 megabytes bitrate on the video. And my standard, once I'd messed with the settings on Elgato to get something that I thought looked good and wasn't too big and, you know, didn't crash or anything like that, was 10. So there is a 4 megabyte difference in video quality, and it turns out 4 megabytes is a lot. And for somebody who's just watching this, who doesn't care about, you know, resolutions and super high, you know, frame fidelity, probably not a factor at all. You might not even notice it, and that's awesome. But if you are interested in that, and you know, you always put it to 1080, you always have it on the biggest monitor possible, you're definitely going to see a deterioration of quality. And I'm really disappointed about this, but I've already recorded the entire walkthrough, so there's nothing I can do on that regard. But my second disappointment was one of the videos had a desync in the audio and video. So the issue that I was having with Elgato, aside from the times when it just breaks and it doesn't work, which is the worst, I'm also having with this brand new piece of equipment. And it only happened once, and the rest were fine, but it's this juggling competition of I can either have a much longer workflow because I have to compensate for failing technology, or I have lower visual fidelity, no fails, and still occasionally get that issue. So I'm in a bit of a bind, and I just wanted to put it out there as a disclaimer as she gets in my way again and I try and punch her and I miss. I'm not sexist, guys, this has nothing to do with who it was. Whoever it was going to be killed either way because they were annoying me, and there you go. Not happy. Good news, this is not COD. They're not going to fail you for accidentally shooting Price or any of that bullshit, so you can get rid of them all the time. And there are times where I would literally kill my entire team just to progress because they were pissing me off. Like, there was one point where you were Spartan Kelly, or whatever her bloody name is, and she says the exact same line over and over, and I died so many times on that sequence, I turned the voices off because she was pissing me off so much. But I'm so excited for people who like Halo, because I think that this game is probably what they thought Halo 4 was going to be. I think they've taken a lot of new directions in certain things. Not all of it pays off, some of it flat out fails, but I'm just really eager to see the people who love this series give their shake of it. Because me, I'm so indifferent, it's not even funny. Now I've recorded this walkthrough, I'm going to go and play Assassin's Creed. I have no interest at all, because I'm just not that big of a guy. The game is really fun. I'm going to play it with some friends, hopefully. I'm really curious to see how this gets, you know, received by the people who adore the series. Will it be, you know, bold, favourable new steps, or will it become a pariah? Who knows? But thank you for watching, and welcome to my legendary walkthrough. You take care now.